Meet the 2021 O'Toole. New name, same old conservative.
Goodness gracious.
Wish.
Oh, I know.
Like,
Yeah.
Don't threaten me with a good time. You're telling me that Harper's hiding in the background? I wish.
Without further ado, you did mention Unifor, the largest private sector union in the country.
The resistance. They're the resistance.
Do you remember that? You remember that?
The only resistance was in their waistbands, but that's just me being rude.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll tell you, there's no resistance in what they're paying for their headquarters. I drive by it and I can see it from the 404 every day. It's a nice ivory tower they got going but anyways, they're up to their old shenanigans, aren't they, Sheila?
Yeah.
Before we talk about it, why don't we do a little show and tell and see their most recent ad, presumably going into another federal election very shortly.
The next model of conservative is here. Meet the 2021 O'Toole, ready to steer Canada in the wrong direction. Engineered by big corporations to leave us behind. Driven to cut healthcare and public services, just like Jason Kenney. Another out-of-touch politician at a price we can't afford. Meet the 2021 O'Toole. New name, same old conservative.
Goodness gracious.
Wish.
Oh, I know.
Like,
Yeah.
Don't threaten me with a good time. You're telling me that Harper's hiding in the background? I wish, but that's not the case.
I agree. That reveal at the end when O'Toole's name comes off and the faded Harper's there, I'll give you 50 grand for that truck. As is, right? You know, and Sheila, by the way, let's make no mistake here. They could have chosen any vehicle as an old jalopy falling apart on the road. But make no mistake, that is deliberate, that they go to the pickup truck category. This is the vehicle of the rural rube, the country bumpkin, the redneck, the hillbilly. That's why they chose that. That is the first conceit in this ad. But beyond optics and visuals, Sheila, I wonder, you know, when you look at who Unifor represents, for example, there's a lot of media representation with Unifor. My favorite paper in Toronto, the Toronto Sun, I can tell you, most of the people, they lean right. Our friend Joe Warmington, he's not some NDP green voting guy. If I'm Joe Warmington or anyone else with this paper and I'm paying my union dues, I am saying, how bloody damn dare you run an ad like that, trashing one party, the party that I'm hoping to support, although Erin O'Toole is making it hard to do. But that's besides the point. This outrageous bias on my dime, that's the big problem with this ad, just like the We Are the Resistance ads from something like 6 years ago, Sheila.
Again, I remember the resistance was only in their waistband. What a surly looking bunch those guys were. Anyway, I got a couple of points here. So they particularly chose a pickup truck. And I think it is a hat tip to their union media friends, their media friends in the Unifor mega union, because the Conservatives were highly critical of that elitist article about a week ago, where they said, you know, they attacked pickup truck owners and they basically wanted pickup trucks banned from the streets. And Conservatives rightly pointed out that that's an elitist pile of garbage and not everybody lives in downtown Toronto. And furthermore, this is not a communist country. You don't get to tell me what I get to buy with my own money. Just get out of my life, right? So this, I think, is like a, hey, media guys, we got your back. Don't worry. But secondarily, they're making fun of the working man here, which I think is a bold take for a union that claims to be pro-working man. You know, when I was a 16-year-old farm kid, that truck with the mismatched door reminded me of our farm truck. Yeah. Like, I remember being a little kid, my dad had a red Ford Courier with a yellow door. And I picked a lot of rocks and put them in the box of that little baby pickup truck. And so I don't think this quite has the effect on me that I think Unifor intended it to have. It might speak to downtown Toronto elitists, but the rest of the country that, or like the parts of the country that like do things with their back in their hands, they look at this and say, that's pretty smug. But also, let's talk about the people who are forced against their will into the Unifor mega union. And say you're building trucks in Oshawa or wherever they build trucks these days. This is your union attacking pickup trucks. How far do they think that's going to go with the like run-of-the-mill union guy who doesn't want to be in a union except for the fact that we don't have right to work legislation in this country?
Oh, Sheila, you nailed it with that, and I was going to make that point too. When we look at vehicle categories, the one category, and it's only one really right now if you look at compact cars, luxury vehicles, SUVs, crossovers, all the rest, is the pickup truck sector is still domestically dominated by far. Ram, GM, Ford, and these are all union jobs making these trucks domestically, no matter what Toyota or Nissan or Honda with the Ridgeline try to do, they can't take any kind of noticeable dent out of the market share for pickup trucks in North America, made by North Americans that are unionized. And here they are mocking the pickup. Are these guys mentally ill? This is unbelievable. They haven't been able to connect the dots. And why is it for the, again, where's the beef, as Clara Peller used to say in the 80s on the Wendy's ads? What Erin O'Toole or Conservative Party of Canada policy is so egregious to the rank and file of the private sector unions that this makes this political party a target?
I don't think it has anything to do with the rank and file. I think the rank and file, the union leadership a long time ago, and we saw this in the United States in the election of Donald Trump, the union leadership and the union membership, they have a parting of the ways politically, because whereas, maybe 20, 30 years ago, conservatives and Republicans, they used to paint them as the party of bankers and businessmen, but now it's blue collars. It's the guys who bring you the energy, who work the rigs, drive pickup trucks. It's farmers. It's because they are not the party of big business. They're the party of small business, by and large. Big business is largely political. They're pro-censorship. They're pro-climate change. They're all those things. It's the small business owner where it's just the one guy who's a contractor in his shop. It's the small restaurant owner. It's the farmer. Those people are voting Republican. They're voting conservative. And so this is Unifor speaking directly to their leadership and the Liberal Party and the journalists in their union, but who also cover the Liberals. This is not the union communicating the thoughts of their membership at all. This is a complete and total disconnect.
No, you're quite right. And in a way, I liken it to the NDP itself, Sheila. You have, that is a party that is torn into two divisions right now. There are those that want, like pipeline jobs, those are good union paying jobs to put those pipelines in. And the other head of the Hydra is the downtown Toronto NDP that is sipping on a latte at Starbucks talking about climate change and carbon emissions and all this rigmarole. And they are at odds with one another. Listen, the federal NDP, if you go back half a century under Ed Broadbent, that was about representing the blue collar worker. That's what the Democrats used to represent south of the border too. As you said, and now these kind of blue-collar workers are realizing these guys are frauds. They don't speak to me. They're not trying to save my job. And in the U.S., you're right. They are more and more, that is an ongoing trend, voting Republican. So they are, I'm not sure they understand who they are going to bat for, Sheila, given that so many of their members in Unifor would be dead set against an ad like we just saw.
Yeah, I alluded to what was happening in the United States. The AFL-CIO, they largely, that's like their mega union. They largely, well, not largely, uniformly endorsed the Democrats. But their membership, a lot of them went to Trump because Trump campaigned directly to them.
Correct.
And there's a lesson in there. There's a lesson in there for conservatives. You should be in Oshawa campaigning with the auto workers, speaking directly to them, like what Trump did in the Rust Belt, what Trump did in coal country, where the coal miners' union bosses, by and large, supported the Democrats. But the coal miners themselves were having prayer circles and prayer vigils for the president. There's a lesson there for conservatives. I'm just not sure they're going to learn it.
Ultimately, Sheila, it comes down to this in any kind of marketing or advertising campaign. Is this a PR win or a PR fumble? I personally think it's a fumble, even if you're not voting conservative. It's just, the polls indicate right now that it is likely, if an election were called, the Justin Trudeau Liberals would win another mandate. The question is it majority or minority government? So I don't understand, it seems odd you would heap on against the conservatives for an election that, by all accounts, looks like it's going to go Liberal anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably the point, though, is it's going to go Liberal. So what's the embarrassment or what's the loss for Unifor? I mean, they learned absolutely nothing from the blowback they got from their resistance campaign ad. And the journalists didn't seem to care either. Like, if you were a journalist, with very few exceptions, let me say, but if you were a journalist and you were trying to maintain your objectivity as you were approaching an election campaign, and would you want your union running these sorts of ads? No, but by and large, the journalists never said anything about it. They've dropped all pretense of being unbiased and willing to cover the conservatives fairly at all.
Sheila, that is such an excellent point. If you were a journalist trying to write an objective piece and you reached out to a source, it is absolutely fair game for that person to say, wait a minute, your union is anti-conservative. It's anti-conservative party, anti-Erin O'Toole. You're actually running ads, outrageous ads of a pickup truck falling apart.
Yeah.
Saying so. How can I trust anything you're going to write? How can I trust you're not going to construe my words to make me look anti-conservative as well? I feel for those journalists who are not, trained SEALs for the Justin Trudeau Liberals trying to do journalism, and then their union basically backstabs them with that ad.
Yeah, but there's very few of them. So I don't think Unifor is all too worried about Joe Warmington.
I can count on one hand.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Ain't it the truth?
Oh, hi. That was a clip from our Rebel Daily live stream. It's hosted Monday, Wednesday, and Friday by the big boss man, Ezra Levant, and Tuesdays and Thursdays by me, Sheila Gunn Reid, and my good friend, David Menzies. On the live stream, we talk about the news of the day, we show some videos, and we interact with our viewers at home. We stream at 12 noon Eastern, 10 Mountain. You can find us on YouTube, Rumble, Super U, and Odyssey.